There was a protest this weekend at a migrant hotel in Epping, a town just outside London. For months, the Bell Hotel has been stuffed with channel-crossing guests, courtesy of your taxes and a tone-deaf Home Office. The spark came on 8th July when police arrested 38-year-old Hadush Gerberslasie Kebatu and charged him with 3 sexual assaults, inciting a girl to engage in sexual activity and harassment. Or, as it was described by the police and in the media, Epping man charged. Yes, Hadush Gerberslasie Kebatu is an Epping man, presumably in the same way that Axel Muganwa Rudakabana is a Welsh choir boy. Hey, you can trust the media, they're dedicated to revealing the raw, unfiltered truth, no matter who it offends, and they're definitely not paid activists twisting the facts to ensure they conform to the ideology of multiculturalism being our greatest strength. No, Hadush Gerberslasie Kebatu isn't an Epping man, he's an Ethiopian man.
Oh, fine. Go in the front.
Video.
No! He's been trying to track to minors, bro! He's trying to minors, bro! Them minors said police are coming! Police are coming! He's watching.
Okay, sorry. But that's not it. Mate, sir. Mate, sir. Sorry. Come here. Beg. There's a cake.
And I believe you know it.
Sorry.
Yes, well done on sending your milk bottle tops into Blue Peter to build water wells in 1986. The people you saved are now hopping on small boats to come and say thank you by harassing your kids. Within 48 hours, several hundred residents flooded the high road, blocking traffic and demanding that the hotel be shut down. What's really interesting is the establishment response. When locals protested migrant hotels last year following the horrific murder of young girls by Axel Muganwa Rudakabana, the most Welshiest Welshman who ever Welshed, the protesters were condemned as far-right bigots. They were arrested and left-wing counter-protests mobilised against them. This time round, it was different. Essex police kept watch and the crowd dispersed without arrests. A counter-protest was arranged by the left-wing organisation Stand Up To Racism. Yes, they were genuinely protesting against parents and locals who just want to protect children from the predations of unvetted migrants. Maybe they should rename themselves Stand Up For Noncism. The dad of the victim was there at the rally and these communist ballbags are calling him a far-right racist? Honestly, the left never change. But the left-wing pro-child abuse protest was pretty poorly attended and the police actually had to step in and protect them as locals roughed them up and tore down their signs. Interestingly, look at the signs held by the locals, which are homemade, written on brown cardboard and held together with tape, clearly made on a kitchen table by an angry mum, compared with the signs held by the left-wing nonce protectors, which are all professionally printed and manufactured. The left-wing protest is clearly orchestrated and funded by a big organisation. The question is, by who? Are establishment NGOs still trying to push this as organic grassroots protest? Look how the signs are packaged up for distribution at previous demonstrations. This is clearly coordinated and funded, probably using your taxes. At some point, locals climbed on the roof and placed an English flag. You know, it's funny, when I moved down to England, I'd been indoctrinated to see the English flag as like a bit rough. Now when I see it, I think, oh, thank God. But the message is clearly getting through. People have had enough. The police didn't rush in and start smashing the heads of the locals as they did last year. Maybe they'll arrest people later after reviewing video footage, which is the tactic they pursue more frequently now. But there seems to be an understanding that policing has to happen with the consent of the people. And the people don't consent to having young men from violent medieval misogynistic cultures dropped into hotels next to their kids' schools. It's filtering through to the political establishment too. Epping Forest District Council leader Chris Whitbread, hardly a fire-breathing populist, has begged the government to close the Bell Hotel and neighbouring Phoenix Asylum Hotel.
The events in Epping on Tuesday evening were deeply disturbing. I want to thank Essex Police for their swift and effective response and commend the local residents who helped ensure a rapid arrest. Let me be clear. Epping Forest District Council has consistently opposed the use of the Bell Hotel to house asylum seekers. It's totally unsuitable. It lacks the infrastructure and support services required, putting both residents and asylum seekers at risk. This cannot continue. The Bell Hotel must be closed immediately. And when I meet tomorrow with Home Office officials, that's exactly what I'll be saying.
This is a tacit warning to the government that they cannot control the situation anymore. For years, the tolerant and decent people across Britain have tried to engage with the police, local authorities and government about their concerns over grooming gangs and asylum hotels, and they've been dismissed as racist, and the authorities continue to illegally import tens of thousands of young men. Then, a few weeks ago in Ballymena, a town in Northern Ireland, locals took matters into their own hands. Following allegations of serious sexual assault by local Roma, locals took to the streets to protest against who they saw as problematic migrants who had caused problems for years but had been treated with kid gloves by the authorities. They set fire to the homes of some of the suspects. It was condemned as horrific and motivated by racism, but speaking to friends in Northern Ireland, these protests were actually supported by the Polish and Filipino migrants in those communities who had integrated and worked hard alongside Irish people and shared the concerns of the community. Obviously, it's a terrible thing to do, but if the authorities had listened to locals sooner, they wouldn't have been pushed to this point. And the dangerous thing is that it undeniably worked. At the time, I said this was dangerous because this direct action seems to have worked when engaging with the democratic process has failed. So it's sending a message to the rest of Britain that this is the only way that works. Yes, you might get arrested, you might get called a racist, but I think a lot of dads across Britain are happy to risk that to protect their kids. And public perception is changing too. People are openly sick of it all. Look at the effigies on the bonfires in Northern Ireland this weekend. They had an artfully crafted boat full of migrants with a pretty clear message to political leaders to stop the boats. This was in Moygashel, which isn't far from Ballymena. They also burnt effigies of Kneecap with an Irish language slogan urging people to kill your local kneecap, mocking the pop group's catchphrase, kill your local MP. And weirdly, politicians are less upset about Kneecap urging people to kill politicians than they are about people burning effigies of Kneecap for telling people to kill politicians. I'm not sure that politicians have picked the right side in this. Of course, the police announced an investigation into a hate crime over the burning of the effigies. Maybe they don't understand that putting effigies on bonfires is a proud British tradition. Where were the police when effigies of Donald Trump or Boris Johnson or Katie Hopkins were burned? It's only a hate crime when it's our aristocrat class of illegal migrants who must be deified and uplifted above everybody else and protected at all costs. But despite the typical wailing in the press about far-right bigots and the police announcing this hate crime investigation, these attempts to bully people into silence are failing. Everyone knows that things have changed and it's time to take real action. Even the recent state visit by Macron revealed the vibe shift. I know people say, oh, but France doesn't do enough to stop cross-channel migrants getting here. But Macron made the very good point that the UK makes it impossible by being such an attractive destination for migrants that they know that when they get here they get free hotel rooms, free mobile phones, free benefits, they get wanked off by a Green Party outreach communist, and they can work in Britain's unregulated grey market, making £1,000 a week tax-free, delivering pizzas to fat British people who think that children getting harassed is an acceptable trade-off for not having to walk down to the chip shop. At the moment, Labour can continue to import hundreds of thousands of third world migrants and dump them far away from themselves. Communities that feel ignored, dumped on and powerless while elites preach diversity from behind gated drives have found a way to be heard. If some good comes of the direct action, it will mean that asylum seekers will finally be placed in the communities that ask for them. People who vote Labour, Green or Lib Dem. Only when the people making the decisions have to live with the consequences of those decisions will we see things get better. I don't approve of any violence, of course, but I also don't approve of ignoring the will of the people. The whole point of democracy is that the people know better than the emperor. Vox populi, vox Dei. With democracy as it is now, a whole bunch of indoctrinated civil servants ignoring the people and deciding for them, we've got the worst of both worlds. At least an emperor would run things well to stop himself from being overthrown and to leave the country in a good state for his children. At the moment, we've got an infinity of unaccountable, unfireable emperors who want to destroy the West. What happens next is a choice. The hotels need to be closed. Detention over B&Bs. If someone arrives illegally, process them in secure facilities, not next to a primary school or in a market square. And we need rapid removals. A 6-month appeal marathon is a luxury our overcrowded island can't afford. And put locals first. Whether it's housing stock, NHS slots or police patrols, taxpayers who fund the system should top the priority list. Until ministers grasp that basic truth, expect more roadblocks in the shires and more riot shields in city centres. Ordinary Britons have reached their limit, and as Epping just proved, they'll take to the streets rather than watch their towns become the next cautionary tale. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you want to support support me making these videos, you can sign up to my Patreon and join a growing community of the only sane people left in the West and get early access and no ads. Okay, thanks for listening. I've been Leo Kears. Bye. Bye bye.